This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep, while you're listening to me talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not currently operating some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you could be doing right now that's easy and could save you money right from your phone. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Plus, auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. There are discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. And just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. So multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at progressive.com to join over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Hello and welcome to Vulgar History, a feminist women's history comedy podcast. My name is Anne Foster and Happy New Year. We're getting into 2026 and I think that it's such a fun way to start the year with an interview with one of my favorite guests ever, Vanessa Riley. We're talking today about her newest book, Fire, Sword, and Sea. So you probably know Vanessa Riley mostly from her previous books have been mostly set in the Regency era, which is what we're talking about this season. Her newest book is taking a look at a different time period, and in fact, couldn't be more exciting for me personally because I love a lady pirate saga. So her book is set in the 17th century in the Caribbean. It's telling the story of real-life pirate Jacquotte Delahaye, and Vanessa was kind enough to join us to talk about her new book. How do you research a pirate? Famously, they don't leave a lot of written records about what they're doing because what they're doing is secretive. Anyway, I love talking with her about this, and please enjoy this conversation with Vanessa Riley about her new book, Fire, Sword, and Sea. So I'm joined today by Vanessa Riley, author of the new book, Fire, Sword, and Sea. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Anne, for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this book because it's no secret, I love a pirate story. I love a pirate saga, and that is what this book is. And so I just want you to walk me through kind of like how this book came to be. So my first question is, how did you first hear about Jacquotte Delahaye? Am I saying that right?
I'm probably the last person to actually help people pronounce. I am very Southern and slightly Caribbean. So it's like, you're going to get a mixture of stuff. I just had a conversation with Robin Miles, who is doing the narration for Fire, Sword, and Sea. So she was Delahaye.
Okay.
Jacquotte Delahaye.
Sure.
And I was like, okay. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
She does so much research on the
pronunciation,
Creoles, the accents, the pronunciations. That is a science all to its own. So a great narrator is so amazing, especially when you're talking about these cultures that are sometimes seldom spotlighted. But the Caribbean is a mixing pot. Everybody is there and everybody is trying to gain their fortunes, create new destinies.
Well, and that's where I feel like this book, just when you said that, I'm like, oh, wow, that narrator is going to have to do a lot of research about different languages, because there's so many different people in this book because that's what it was like in the Caribbean at that time. So Jacquotte, how did you first hear about her? Do you remember?
Absolutely remember, because I wasn't looking for her. I was in Jamaica, as one does. It was a writing retreat. So, but anytime I go anywhere, I want to know about the history. So I went to the fort at Port Royal and they took us on a tour, and it was just a fabulous tour because they've done some restoration work because, Port Royal, because of the age, because of the massive tsunami, there are pieces missing and whatnot. But they've reconstructed this fort. And I was in the cell where I think Mary Read, the pirate Mary Read, was once held. And to me, it was like, we're in the Caribbean. Are there any other, are there Caribbean women pirates? Because I just read an article from the Los Angeles Times that said that 20 to 30% of the pirates in the Caribbean were African or Caribbean. They were Black on these utopia kind of ships. So I started doing some research, and the name Jacquotte Delahaye came to my scope, and then I just dug in and tried to find everything. She's controversial, so I do think she is an amalgamation of different lives, but I think she's a very accurate portrayal of what women did in order to gain a footing in this world.
Mm-hmm. And that's the research is what interests me as well, because she is, well, like you just said, she's sort of an amalgamation, perhaps. So it's not just as easy as like with your other books where you're like, okay, this person was born here, like the other historical books you've done where it's like this and this and this, and this is where she grew up. It's like, how on earth did you research this?
Snippets, the snippet tactics. So you would you would find her, but I'd always find her in reference to Anne de la Vote. Anne de la Vote is, she's a white woman that actually was enslaved from France. So France would gather prisoners, they would gather thieves, and they would ship them out to the colonies because they were trying to form family colonizations, birth people in the Caribbean to cement the hold. And Anne was one of these women. And Anne is highly linked to Jacquotte. So finding her life helps me put pieces of Jacquotte back together. And, then you find other people that she's in league with. So there's Michel Labasque. There is Lawrence de Grappe. All these people who are much more highly documented because they're either a man or they're Caucasian. They're white. You put these pieces back together. So by finding her contemporaries and then seeing how she interacted in their lives, I was able to reconstruct her life.
And so we were talking just before we recorded that the time period and the place that you're writing about was such a place of chaos, but I would also say of opportunity for people, because it was really just, there's all these people from all these different cultures, and they're all just kind of trying to make a buck, trying to figure out how they can thrive for themselves. So can you explain for everybody at least, the book travels around because it's a pirate, obviously, but where does her story start, and what is it like there at that time?
Her world starts in Tortuga. So Tortuga is this little tiny island off of Hispaniola, present-day Haiti, that is being fought over by France and Spain. And the island literally goes through these waves of wars or battles where one side will knock the other side off, and in a couple of years, the other side will come back. And so at the moment in time where we meet Jacquotte, the island is split. So half of it is Spanish, half of it's French, but it is a pirate haven. So pirates from all over the Caribbean are coming to Basse-Terre, which is like the main city very close to the coastline of Tortuga, and that's where we find Jacquotte. The evidence I found is that her father owned a tavern, and I know of her brother, and at some point the father dies. It's unclear what happens, but Jacquotte is thrust in this world where she has to make a way for her and her brother. So those are the little bits that I had. But you've got to think of Tortuga it's wild. There's a huge prison up on top of one of the big hills of Tortuga. It's, one moment it's got the white sand beaches, right? So you've got that typical tropical view, but just go into the jungles and there are traps for wild boars. And then you've got these retired pirates who are no longer seaworthy that the French government or the Spanish government has convinced to make plantations to settle down roots, because the belief is if we can inhabit the Caribbean, we can own the Caribbean. So at this moment in time, it's about inhabitation. There are battles going on, but it's more between the world powers. So in this world, we think of the world powers, Britain, the world, the sun never sets. Well, this is before all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Britain's on the come up, as I would say, Britain, France, Portugal, the Dutch, all of these individuals are trying to get wealthy. They're trying to make a name for themselves. And piracy is legal. So you could be a pirate as long as you don't hit my ships. I can give you a writ that says you can steal everything under the sun. Just give me a little percentage and we'll call it a day. And the two world powers, the two wealthiest powers this moment, and wealth is determining not size of armies at this moment in time, or navies, because navies they're still figuring a lot of things out. It's wealth, and that is Spain and the Mughal Empire. To me, it was a kind of aside, which was very funny or sad. If you go back to Hollywood, the early pirate movies have the Mughals in it. The early pirate movies have the Mughals and but very westernized approach, Western hero, Mughal princess, that kind of thing, right? A little bit of some of the early legend stories that have happened with, Henry Avery, one of the most successful pirates in history. So it's this weird world. And to me, it was having to divorce the thoughts of how our present day world works, or even my most comfortable. I am very happy from 1750 to 1830. That's my jam, my lane. This was different. Everything was different. Clothing was different. Expectations and roles were different. And it was, would I do it again? But it's kind of like, once you're in there, I'm in it to win it. I'm going to figure out everything in this world. I want to bring it back to you. I firmly believe there's a reason why I was given this story, and so I'm going to do everything I can to figure out her world, so that you feel, for just maybe the time you're reading the book, I got a little snippet of what the world used to look like. What did they get right? What did they get wrong? And what can we learn from it?
Well, and that's what I found, because I would say also in my reading, even my history research I've done, I've never looked at this particular slice of history before. So I will say to the listeners who haven't read this book yet, like Vanessa does, she holds your hand. She explains everything. Like, you're not just stranded in this unfamiliar time period. But yeah, because it is so interesting, because it's when you think about like the Hollywood pirates and stuff, it's often, or even like Pirates of the Caribbean, the movies, like that's a later generation of pirates. This is like the OG, like the original piracy. Like you were saying, like even when you tell people like this is even before England was a world power, it's like, oh, so this is like all the way back. And that's part of what I found really interesting and sort of exciting, and what makes the story unpredictable is I'm like, I don't know where this is headed. Like, I don't know I don't know in world history, like which power is going to come out on top at this point. I don't know. So it's really the sense like where Jacquotte is living, where it's just kind of like, it's chaos and
Total chaos.
But I find like the fact that in your book and in life, like she had this younger brother who is maybe like a special needs, like disabled. So it gives her, it's not just her that she's worrying about. Like she's got this kid also. So it just suddenly, she can't just like run off and have adventures. I would imagine that was like, when you were putting the story together, you knew that the brother was going to be an important part of it.
I knew the brother was an important, he was, of all the characters, he's the least amount of information. So there's points where as a researcher, I don't know what happens. But I got a sense that to have her story, she's got to figure something out. Her mother is dead. Her father's died. And this younger brother, what does she do? So that the natural care, when you write about women, as you know, there are these zones or lanes of the natural caregiver, the natural nurturer. And then we forget about this other lane where maybe it's not that natural. Maybe there's a third lane of some sort of freedom. And, when we look at Jacquotte, I had an amalgamation of thoughts. What makes a woman decide to leave all this behind to don male garb and go pretend she's a man so that she can make some money, knowing that she could die and never come back to take care of this. So even the short term of I'm just going to go make some money, you are risking so many things. You don't know what's going to happen. So there's a lane that I explored with Jacquotte that is kind of different than the other women, because the book before this is Queen of Exiles. Queen Louise is a mother's mother, right? She is very maternal. She is worried about her children. Island Queen, Dorothy Kerwin Thomas, is extremely maternal. She knows each of her kids, the quirks, the things that drive them. And I felt how she wanted to make sure each one of them was successful. So the other side of that coin is someone like Jacquotte, where her dreams, her desire to be more than what the world is trying to tell her, that this is your only lane. You can only be a wife or a wench. There's nothing else. I wanted to have her lane. And then you have to explore, well, what does that lane look like when you know that every moment you could die? Every moment you may not come back. You have these grand thoughts. I'm going to get this booty. I'm going to get all this money, come back, and I'm going to have this different world. You may not make it past Tuesday. Scurvy will kill you because they're just now figuring out you need to put some citrus on these boats. A splinter will kill you. They don't, they'll throw rum on you, for some sort of cleansing purposes. But sometimes they don't even have that. It's a very dangerous world. And in any other minute, there are rebellions happening, these ships, the turnovers of who's in leadership. It's all chaos. And I think I want to make sure that Jacquotte wasn't ignorant of that. Sometimes you get a hero or heroine, they stumble into their thing. These have to be deliberate decisions because nothing is fast. You can't just, I'm going to go be a pirate. No, you've got a plan. How are you going to join a pirate crew? How do you get on board these ships? How do you gain that trust? Because at any moment they could say, intruder, let's just kill him and go. So to add that level of realism, but yet tackle the natural roles that we often find women or limit our women characters to be, that was an incredible challenge. But it has to be addressed. So as you say, I kind of held hands. Yeah, I'm going to hold your hands because this is a different world. And I wanted everybody to understand and not judge any of these women or men who decide to do something different. And piracy is legal during this. So this is an actual profession, firefighter, mayor, pirate. You can see little boys and maybe some girls are dreaming of, I want to be a ship captain and I don't want to be impressed into the British Navy or the French Navy or the Spanish Navy. I want to do things on my own. You could see them growing up wanting to be a pirate. So it's such a different world. And that was one of the biggest challenges. It was such a different world. And to make sure that was conveyed, that my own belief system is not holding back the story, it was incredibly challenging.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting because talking about this was, you said, becoming a pirate is a legitimate career that all these people could do. It's not, when you think about now, like, a bank robber or something, it's just like, that's just, you don't grow up wanting to do that. You might fall into it. And now for a quick advertising break. It's a new year and time to get back to feeling like yourself. If losing weight is one of your 2026 goals and you're ready to make progress you can count on, then Weight Loss by Hers might be the right fit for you. Through Hers, you're connected with a medical provider who determines if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment plan is personalized to support you in reaching your goals. Plus, you can access a range of treatment options like oral medication kits or GLP-1 injectables. Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to ongoing care, dosage, and medication adjustments, lifestyle and nutrition tips, and 24/7 support with no hidden costs or membership fees. And with options starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid upfront in full, Hers provides access to options that fit your goals and your budget. Feel like your best self again. Visit forhers.com/vulgar to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/vulgar. Forhers.com/vulgar. Waitlist by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded drug products are not approved or evaluated for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
What if I told you that 2026 is the year you launch your business? Maybe you've got an idea you just can't shake, or that hobby that everyone in your life is telling you to sell. Taking that first step and finally taking action can feel impossible. But with Shopify, all you need to turn your dreams into your new future is at your fingertips. Make 2026 the year you transform into the entrepreneur, founder, and boss you were meant to be. And the one powerful move to make it all happen is starting your business with Shopify. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person, giving you all the tools to easily build your dream store. Choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. And you can set up quickly with Shopify's built-in AI tools that will help you write product descriptions and headlines, as well as edit product photos. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names like Gymshark and Mattel to first-time business owners just getting started. Marketing is built in too. You can create email and social campaigns within Shopify to reach customers wherever they are. And as you grow, Shopify grows with you. The same dashboard that you start with will evolve as your business does to handle more orders and expand to new markets. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. That's shopify.com/realm. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side.
From the darkest corners of our imagination comes a game show that's more ridiculous than terrifying. Welcome to Tickled to Death. I'm your host, Roz Hernandez, and I'll be guiding guests through the creepy questions and chaotic games, all to win the ultimate title of Horror Movie Champion. Listen to Tickled to Death wherever you get your podcasts, and hit follow unless you want the show to follow you.
Goodbye, Kyle!
Did the sound of those words call to you like Pavlov's dog? Then you might enjoy our podcast, Turtle Time.
Every week, you can join me, Riley Hamilton, and my co-host, Amy Scarlotta, as we cover the most pressing Bravo news and dig into the new episodes to answer important questions like, who the hell is Adrian Malouf in this world?
Listen to Turtle Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday.
And we're back. But can you talk about the role for like Jacquotte, for a woman to be a pirate, and the whole thing about disguising as a man and stuff? You know, it's unlucky to have a woman on a ship and all those sorts of things. So she's got this extra barrier where you do show in the book very, very well in the first parts. Like you see, like she's good with a ship. She knows how to like sail a ship. She's good with the sword. Like she's got these skills, but that doesn't mean anything if you're not going to be allowed on a ship.
Exactly. That sword, her swordsmith expertise could literally just make her a better chef in the kitchen. Knife activities, just a better chef in the kitchen and things like that. Or being able to defend herself from drunks from her father's bar. That expertise in weaponry, in being able to thrust and parry and all these different mechanisms that you have to do when you're working with swords or rapiers, it could simply be relegated to a traditional woman's role. She has to be more. And Jacquotte rises, you know, in from the amalgamated versions or the truth versions or whatever version you find of her, she always rises to lead a mixed crew of women and men and all different races. That is the common thread in her story. So you have to, I wanted to build a story because I've only got little snippets of her life, of where she is and who's interacting. There's no, chronological timeline of she was this old when this happened, that sort of things. You just get events and things. And then there's also now a lexicon of people who've gone and invented their own histories for her and, waging through that. So it's like you have to be a special person to be able to survive the ruthless environment. And knowing that she's going to rise up the rank, from being an oarsman to a helmsman to somewhat of a navigator, and then, to an actual captain, you have to have real skills, being able to navigate the boat. So I had to build plausible ways to get her there. Old Gene is her mentor guide. He's an invention, but he's a tool that I use to show this is how she gains, because someone had to teach her how to, was it Michel Leblasque? Maybe. He may have taught her. But for the necessity of the story, I make Old Gene a mentor, because with Michel is a love interest. And there are other reasons why you may want to teach somebody these skills or show off these skills, etc. I wanted it very pure, a fatherly instinct, a mentor instinct, who wants nothing, absolutely nothing but the best for Jacquotte. And to put, to know, and someone who knew how dangerous the world is for not only women, because he's seen so much things happen, but for Black women during this time frame, to be able to relate to those different episodes that he knows she's going to have to navigate. So we have Old Gene teaching her how to, how to steer a boat. She learns on her own how to handle her father's rapier. Two skills that are going to be the marquee of how she's able to continue to navigate this very dangerous world.
And so can you talk about the element of, like, again, this is this time and a place that not a lot of people are familiar with. So what was the element of the slave trade that was going on in this place at that time?
Yes. So, there's a book called 1619, right? And that is the first time enslaved people are coming to North America, right? Slave people were coming to the Caribbean before this time frame, right? Side note, when some trading ships were too lazy to go to Africa to get slaves, they would go to Mexico and just pick out the darker skinned indigenous folk and enslave them and sell them off into the Caribbean for money. It's a crazy world. They haven't figured out yet that sugarcane is the cash crop. So they're trying cotton, they're trying indigo in different places, they are trying tobacco. Tobacco is a huge, huge thing. But many of these things are stealing the nutrients from the soil, so they're not taking off. And so it's a limited factor. So the conditions are so harsh. They need enslaved labor in their perspective, to manage these burgeoning plantations or habitations. But they haven't got the cash crop yet. There's not a mass thing. So there's not this mass need just yet. At the end of the 1600s, 1690s, oh yeah, by then they know it's sugarcane all day long, and the world has a sugar tooth. So we've got to get more enslaved people. But at this moment in time, an enslaved person could escape. They may or may not be hunted down. They would try and get their property back, but it's not the intensity that you see later on because of that value that is going on. But at the same time, one of the most insane things that I came upon in my research was I was looking at logbooks, and they would have pewter vessel, 14 guineas. And at the time, I was thinking that was the coin. It wasn't the coin. That was the enslaved. That was the number of enslaved, because Guinea is what they called all Africa during this point in time. That was bodies. And that currency. You may steal from Spain today, but the Spanish armadas may come for you. So the quickest thing to do is to convert that into cash. And cash in that moment in time are enslaved Africans, enslaved people. And to see it just put it so callously, so plainly in a ship's record or a captain's log of how he traded for a pewter bowl, not even silver, Gare, pewter, 14, 17 guineas. And so it's like, in our present day world, people try to convince you that the guinea coin, the British guinea, is because they use metal from Guinea. No.
I've come across that currency in my research before. I never knew.
That's for 16. So I was like, the 1600s was insane. Totally insane. People always ask me how I research these things and mental health and all these sorts of. This did some stuff. Right? I'm not gonna lie. This one was hard to shake off because of just the nature of the beast. But it isn't. I try to be as detailed as possible, as authentic as possible. But I never want you to stumble in the narrative. So I'm explaining things, but naturally explaining things. And there was just so much research that I wanted to put in here, but some of it it just couldn't. But I'd put in, that the amalgamated, the extended cast is one of the ways that I used to make sure that at least subjects were broached or talked about or seen.
Well, one of the things that when we're talking about the extended cast of the book, and I don't want to get into, we won't get into spoilers at all, but there are gender things happening in this book. I mean, Jacquotte disguises herself as a man for a time. And then I don't know how much you want to talk about the other character.
Yes. Well, there's the thing that I want people to realize is we've come up with fancy words that scare people. So if you say certain words nowadays, you will either get flagged by Canva, which happened during this process, or you will have people who will automatically never want to hear anything more of this history, which is a disservice to these people. They lived. This was an incredibly difficult, strange, and sometimes wonderful world. And there were women who dressed up as men, embodying that lifestyle of how do I act like a man? How do I become a man, etc. There were people, because there was a shortage of women in the West Indies, that saw other opportunities, natural opportunities, things that felt natural to them. You meet them in the book. And I don't want to prejudice anybody's thought process, but you leave your 20th, first century minds behind where things have labels. And I think throughout, love is so rare. The world is dangerous. When you find love, you hold on to it. I think that was my guiding principle when I wrote this book. And it was necessary to showcase because this world is full of dichotomies. You have people making pledges, no women on board, but they're smuggling women on board. You have Black, white, indigenous people on the deck, everybody pulling their weight, doing sorts of thing, and you'll have chattel slavery underneath the boat. And to think about, people weren't necessarily thinking about being their brother's keeper during this time frame because it was survive. How do I survive? How do I live another day? That took precedence, but not necessarily in a selfish way. It was just more so a fact of life. And then once again, you find these people who found love, who found comfort in someone else. And I believe just from someone else. And those lives are shared in this book. We have fancy words for them now. I think people just said people were people, and they dealt with who they were presented with, and they were comfortable with who they were comfortable with. And I want that message to really come about. But there's no apologies in this book. I wrote the lives I found, the pieces, the snippets of things I found. And I want those individuals, the brave individuals I'm bringing back to life. I want that to resonate, because if we live without labels, maybe we are an easier, safer place, or maybe that's how we get through chaos. We drop labels and we just look at people as being people.
In your book, it comes across like you were saying that you could die tomorrow, you could die today. Like when you're living this pirate lifestyle, you don't know what's going to happen. So you might as well just like be true to who you are. And if you find someone to love, like hold on to it. That makes all of the sense. Like there's not time in these people's lives, these pirates, to be worrying about labels or what other people think about this or that. It's just like, can I trust this person? Like, are they part of my crew? Great. Like, then I'm on board. Yeah.
The word métallage, now once again, this is Southern pronunciation, but a métallage is the formal word for a same-sex union on these boats. And that helped them, they formalized it so that, if you died, you got the person's property, and so once again, when we look from our 21st century, oh no, this never happened. No, there's a lot of stuff that happened. We just haven't been brave enough to either acknowledge it, or we have been too judgmental to see humanity for what it is.
And also, I feel like these people, the people living in this era, the pirates, well, although I guess it was a legal job at the time, they weren't necessarily outlaws, but it's just like, why would they prescribe to, like, if society says you should do this and this and this, it's like, well, why? If you're a pirate, why would you pay attention to any of those rules?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to pirate along and do, you've decided to live, by your wits and on your own means. You're relying on this crew that becomes family to some respects, until there's a mutiny, of course. But, that's the life you chose, and everything that comes with it, you can't necessarily pick and choose, which is, when I discovered the pieces about the creed that they have to vote on, like, first of all, they're voting on, these are the rules. So if you're captain, you can't just arbitrarily change rules. And the crew, they live by this penalty. That is more important. Living by your bond, by your word, is more important than sexuality, than race, than anything in this time frame.
So for people who are going to read this book, you just said a lot of really lovely things about what you hope people get out of the book, but I do want to make sure that people know that it's also just like, it's a swashbuckling adventure. There's like action sequences, there's a good time. Like how do you describe this book to people who maybe are a bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to read a book about a pirate? Like how do you explain that it's a good time?
It is a good time because it's a swashbuckling adventure. And you rarely see, when I started into my venture into historical fiction, I didn't realize how rare it was to see a woman leading a saga, leading an adventure, going from place to place to place, journeys to some sort of quest. That is very rare. You will find, men do quests. I guess women are supposed to stay home. But here's a crew of women that didn't want to stay home. You're going to be invited into their lives. You're going to see the danger. You will see sometimes recklessness. You will see adventure, high seas, fate that's happening. And as always, I'm going to give you the geo-world politics. What's going on in this world that allows for this to happen? And what are the responses that are happening? It And this is a crazy time frame. And once again, it's before chattel slavery is really starting to kick off. So you get a moment in time where maybe the world could have chosen differently. You get a moment in time where you see the problems we have now are right there, right in our face, and we could have chosen differently. So it's an. I think you're going to be, if you like adventure, if you like learning things, even though it's not a textbook, boys and girls, not a textbook. But if you like to just know a little bit more about the world in the 1600s and these daring women who decided, I want a different life. I think that's very powerful for the moment we're living in, where people are choosing to want more. And, to live vicariously through these adventures, I think is an exciting thing. And we have to know Anne de Laveau. We have to know Jacquotte Delahaye. We need these women who decided to do something just very different and exciting. Lawrence de Graaf, Michel Lebasque. I mean, there's these are real pirates that are interspersed into our narrative, and they're doing some, they did some crazy, amazing things, and we just need to know about it.
It's January. Everyone's listening to this in January, but Halloween is not that long ago, and you always see kids dressed as pirates. That's just like, there's something about that lifestyle that like kids, like it really appeals to a kid, I think, just a sense of like freedom and adventure. And I think we all still have that little kid inside of us who's just like a pirate. Oh, I love pirates. Like I feel like everyone went through that phase maybe.
Yes. Yeah. This is not a kid's story. It's a little violent.
It's not a kid's story. This is for your, if you like pirates as a kid and now you're grown up.
This is grown up pirates. This is, pirates with consequences. It's not Pirates of the Caribbean, although they had some consequences. But it's a realistic view of an exceptional period of time where everything was possible and everything is against you. So you're hanging in the balance. Which way do I turn? Which way do I go? That's Fire, Sword, and Sea, and I think you're going to love it.
I agree. I read it and I agree. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for joining us to talk about your book. It's the sort of book, I don't always feel this way when I'm reading a book, but this one I was just like, I need to talk. I need to learn, how did you put this together? How did you, because like there's so many moving parts in this time period, and how do you come up with this story? So I was just like excited to get to hear the inside scoop of how this book came to be. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So I know you're going to want to read this book, and guess what? It's available. It's just been published this week. Fire, Sword, and Sea by Vanessa Riley is available anywhere you get your books from. Go to vanessariley.com and you can get all the links as well as a book club kit for this book. It's so good. I'm just like, want everybody to know that I'm always here for Lady Pirate Story. And thanks again to Vanessa for joining us for this conversation. So this podcast is Vulgar History. My name is Anne Foster, and I've written a book also. It's coming out in February called Rebel of the Regency. It's a nonfiction book about a scandalous woman from the Regency era named Caroline of Brunswick. You can pre-order this book now at basically North America, Canada, the US. It's also available to pre-order, I'm so excited, in the UK as well as in Australia from any major bookstore, basically. And you can add it on Goodreads, you can add it on Storygraph to your TBR. And if you pre-order the book, which comes out in like a month, it comes out February 10th, there's some pre-order goodies you can get. You can fill out a form to get your pre-order treats at rebeloftheregency.com. That's where you also get information about my book. And where to order it and things like that. But if you pre-order, you can get 1 year free membership to my Substack, 1 year free membership to my Patreon, and a limited edition Caroline of Brunswick paper doll set. So again, just go to rebeloftheregency.com to let me know you've made your pre-order. And that means when it's published next month, it'll be right there waiting for you at your local bookstore or delivered to you or whatever you choose to do. I'm hoping to have information soon, confirmed information about when and where I'll be going on book tour, so you can come and meet me in person. Hopefully, more information about that coming soon. Next week, we're getting back into the Regency era of it all with a very familiar guest talking about a lesser-known woman from the Regency era. I think you're going to really enjoy next week's episode as well. And so until next time, keep your pants on and your tits out. Vulgar History is researched, scripted, and hosted by Anne Foster. Editor is Christina Lumagi. Theme music is by the Severn Duo. Regency-era artwork by Karen Moynihan. Social media videos by Magdalena Denson. Transcripts of this podcast are available at vulgarhistory.com by Aveline Malik. You can get early, ad-free episodes of Vulgar History by becoming a paid member of our Patreon at patreon.com/AnneFosterWriter. Vulgar History merchandise is available at vulgarhistory.com/store for Americans and at vulgarhistory.redbubble.com for everyone else. Follow us on social media at Vulgar History Pod. Get in touch with me at vulgarhistorypod@gmail.com.
The war is over, and both sides lost. Kingdoms were reduced to cinders, and armies scattered like bones in the dust. Now the survivors claw to what's left of a broken world, praying the darkness chooses someone else tonight. But in the Shadow Dark, the darkness always wins. This is old school adventuring at its most cruel. Your torch ticks down in real time, and when that flame dies, something else rises to finish the job. This is a brutal rules-light nightmare with a story that emerges organically based on the decisions that the characters make. This is what it felt like to play RPGs in the 80s, and man, it is so good to be back. Join the Glass Cannon podcast as we plunge into the Shadow Dark every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/theglasscannon, with the podcast version dropping the next day. See what everybody's talking about and join us in the dark.
If Bravo drama, pop culture chaos, and honest takes are your love language, you'll want All About TRH podcast in your feed. Hosted by Roxanne and Chantel, this show breaks down Real Housewives reality TV and the moments everyone's group chat is arguing about.
Roxanne's been spilling Bravo tea since 2010, and yes, we've interviewed Housewives royalty like Countess Luann and Teresa Giudice. Smart recaps, insider energy, and zero fluff. Listen to All About TRH podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. New episodes weekly.
There are names that echo in the world of true crime. Names that carry unanswered questions. Oakley Carlson, a 5-year-old girl who deserved safety, protection, and love. Yet the system built to protect her failed, and Oakley disappeared. Her community still calls her name.
Or Ellen Greenberg, found in her locked apartment with 20 stab wounds. A case declared a suicide. But how does a locked apartment tell two different stories at once?
These are not just cases we have covered. They are people. They were loved, and they mattered.
Their stories deserve to be told with care, with depth, with truth.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ricky.
We are the husband and wife duo behind Crime Salad.
Every week we uncover stories of the missing, the silence, the misunderstood. We ask the questions that were left behind. We refuse to let these stories be forgotten.
Because behind every case is a family holding on, a community seeking answers, and a story that deserves to be heard.
We invite you to listen to Crime Salad,
your healthy portion of true crime, wherever you get your podcasts.